Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Naked Truth. Trisha Hershberger here. Before we jump into this week's topic, or maybe I should say before we pounce in to this week's topic, I don't know, my fight lingo is bad. Let's go ahead and thank our Naked Army vloggers from last week who gave a very wide variety of opinions on the Friends with Benefits situation, and we had a lot of first-time Naked Army members join the Naked Truth community, so welcome to them. If you want to check out their vlogs, they're linked in the description below. That's Chris, Kavaja, Renegade, Christopher, Erica, Jeremy, Sky, Prescott and Kristen, David, Julia, Ryan, Lawrence, James, and Jenny. Again, those are linked below if you want to check them out, and thanks to all of those folks, especially welcome to the new guys and gals. So this week, this topic suggestion comes from Ishmael Ark, who said, Naked Truth on fighting? When do the claws come out, Trisha? And I thought, ooh, I feel like this topic is not only fun because then we each get to share personal stories, if we have any personal stories that relate to that, but also because on a greater scale, I feel like it relates to a lot of what's going on politically, not just in the U.S., but in the world. And, you know, when is it appropriate, if ever, to resort to violence? So for me, I have been in 2 fights in my life. And I felt very badass in one of them and not very badass in the other. And they were both when I was much younger. So the first one took place probably when I was 8 or 9. And I was in the school cafeteria. I was picked on a lot because I was about 1.5 feet shorter than everybody else my age. I was the tiny one. So this was about 3rd or 4th grade for me. And I was standing in the lunch line, and one of the kids who always picked on me, this kid named Bradley, and I won't give his last name because I'm sure he's a very nice person now, but he always picked on me, and he tripped me in the lunch line, and my lunch money, which I was holding in my hand, like flew out everywhere, and all the other kids laughed at me, and it was really embarrassing, and I kind of had this moment where I blacked out, and when I came back to, my hand really hurt. And this kid, Bradley, who tripped me, was crying and holding on to the side of his face. And needless to say, he did not pick on me anymore after that. But I thought, oh my goodness, I must have, in a fit of rage, of my tiny self-rage, must have walked up and just smacked him. But apparently it worked. So I did not get in trouble by the teachers, even though I probably should have, because I'm the one that hit him, but he did trip me first. But whatever, you know, teachers are just like, break it up, kids. I didn't get in trouble, and he did stop picking on me, so that was effective. And then a few years later, I was camping with a friend of mine, and there were these other kids at like the campground playground. They were guys, and it was me and one of my girlfriends, and they were really picking on one of my girlfriends, my girlfriend who was there with me, and it made me really upset. And so I decided that I was going to fight them. And now I had watched way too many movies and cartoons like Ninja Turtles where the good guys always win. And I thought, well, I'm defending my friend's honor, so obviously I'm going to win. Not thinking about the fact that I had absolutely zero experience fighting or any kind of training, and the fact that these kids were way taller than me, probably older than me. And you know, I was like this scrawny little thing. So this was, I don't know, I was maybe 11 or 12 at this point. But I thought, you know, everything I've seen on TV tells me when a guy's being a jerk, just kick him in the nuts. And so that's, you know, I assumed some kind of fighting stance that I thought was an appropriate fighting stance, and I'm sure just looked ridiculous. And I tried to do my best, like, roundhouse kick. What was I thinking? Into this kid's groin area. And anyway, this kid, who probably had a lot more experience fighting than I did because he was being a jerk, so he was probably a bully or whatever, grabbed my foot as it came around and twisted it so that I went from standing right side up on one foot, like down, kind of like face first into the ground. And then those kids just laughed at me and my friend and walked away. Thank God that was the end of it, because they really could have kicked my butt. But yeah, that was not a great experience. And again, like afterwards, I was like, I'm not a dumb kid. What was I thinking? Like, that was so stupid. What was I thinking? But I was so angry because they were making fun of my friend that I felt like I had to do something. And, you know, why I didn't think of another resolution to the issue, I have no idea. And that's what I went to. And, you know, now I think about that as an adult, and it does raise that larger question of when is it appropriate to resort to physical violence, or is it ever appropriate? And I think for me, coming from an Irish-Italian background, I feel like I have, you know, inherently that kind of anger tripwire happens a little bit faster. And so especially when I was a kid and, you know, didn't really have as much self-control, it was like, oh, well, here we go. And also I grew up on the East Coast, where I feel like physical violence and physical brawls are a lot more accepted, at least in the areas that I grew up in, than they are on the West Coast where I live now. Like, bar fights are 100% not uncommon in the Philly area or the Boston area, or like any of the places that I knew growing up. And out here, they are unheard of. Nobody hits another person for fear of like crazy lawsuit, or it's just not how people interact out here on the West Coast. And so I'm curious to hear from the Naked Army members who live in other parts of the world if that's more of an acceptable way for people to solve differences or not. And it's been 11 years since I lived on the East Coast, so I don't even know if that's still the case, but that was the experience that I had from my perspective. And so now I feel like, because maybe it's because of where I live now, maybe it's because I'm a little older now, but I feel like it's better not to lose my temper, like keep that Irish Italian temper in check, and behave in a more civilized manner when I have a dispute to resolve with somebody else. And part of me feels like it's never okay to resort to violence. There's always another solution, but I don't know if that's too naive necessarily. So now I think that maybe as a last resort, or in self-defense. And I do think it's important for people to study these things so that they have a means of self-defense should it come to that. And, I'm just not sure. And like I said, I think that this relates on a wider political scale, from things about civil unrest and riots here in the U.S. to when is it appropriate to go to war, or is there always another way to resolve that type of issue? And these are always things to think about. So anyway, I'm really excited to hear what you guys in the Naked Army community have to say about that. And that's my question to you, is when is it appropriate to fight, or isn't it? Please let me know in the comment section below, or in a Naked Truth vlog of your very own. And also, I know this is going up on a Thursday and not a Wednesday, and because I've had a lot of stuff going on, I'm shooting more shows now than I ever have before, as well as some medical stuff going on. It's been harder and harder for me to get these up on Wednesdays, so I think moving forward, I'm going to move the Naked Truth to a Thursday morning show. I know, crazy. It's been years of Wednesday mornings. What are you doing to me, Trisha? But we're going to move it to Thursdays and see how that goes for everyone. So in the future, expect that on Thursdays, and then you can expect other tech and gaming videos on Fridays and Saturdays and some other fun stuff. I've got a really cool BTS of Kubo and the Two Strings coming up soon. And anyway, lots of fun stuff in store for you guys. So thank you so much for watching this channel and watching this vid. Please give it a like and subscribe. If you watch The Naked Truth and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, because that helps the channel grow. And then I can do more cool stuff with the YouTube space and more cool stuff with you guys. So yeah, so have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.